Hi, I'm Grey Tiger, and today I'm starting a new video series where we take a look at the unique mechanics for each of the races in Warhammer 2. Each week we will focus on a different race, discussing the existing campaign mechanics for that race, along with any unique mechanics for individual factions. First up, we have everyone's favourite whipping boys, and perhaps the most neglected of the Warhammer races in Total War so far. That's right, I'm talking about the Beastmen, who have perhaps the least enjoyable campaign in the game, though some will debate that Chaos has that title. So, strap yourselves in, make yourself comfortable, as we take a stroll through the woodlands and see what we find. So, what mechanics do the Beastmen have? Well, we have 4 that I could distinguish, though if I've missed one, please give me a darn good seeing to in the comments section below. First up, Bestial Rage / Brayherds. It's a straightforward copy of the Greenskins' old fight in this meter, which will spawn a separate army after a certain number of battles. In all honesty, it was fine when it was released, except for the suicidal armies of course. But like so much of the content from the first game, it's now showing its age, and the rework mechanic added in the Warden and the Paunch DLC is so much better. And here we have our first item for debate. What would make this mechanic work well for the Beastmen? Should it just be a straight copy of what the Greenskins currently have, with a little tweak to the UI? Should we have units gather at herdstones across the map, which we can then recruit into our Bray herd, much like Wolfhard can recruit units from the core Empire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The second mechanic, Beast Paths. Once again, very similar to what several other races had in the first game, and it did its job of allowing the Beastmen armies to navigate difficult terrain easily. I'd argue that this doesn't really need a major rework, but if you disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, quickly moving on to the least exciting of the mechanics, the Dark Moon event. I'm not entirely sure what I was expecting, but the name invokes visions of my Beastmen having their fighting style altered in some way. Instead, it's currently a simple multiple choice dialogue with some campaign effects. Could this perhaps be changed to give us a battle mechanic like the Greenskins, Dark Elves and Tomb Kings currently have? Only available for the duration of the Dark Moon perhaps? Wouldn't that be more fitting? Lastly, we have herdstones, which basically spread corruption after a settlement has been raised. This is perhaps the single biggest disappointment for me, as in the lore the herdstones are described as so much more. The following is an excerpt from the 7th edition Beastmen Army book. To the Beastmen, the most sacred of all the dark places in the woodlands are the monolithic herdstones. These are the meeting grounds of the Beastmen, and take the form of dire and foreboding standing stones. They are often immensely ancient, hewn or grown from fallen meteors into twisted mouths, skulls and spires that hurt the eye. Now, that sounds like it has great potential. I envision a system where you battle for influence over herdstones across the map, and once you have enough control over a herdstone, you gain access to unit recruitment from it. Each herdstone could provide access to unique units that fit the region, and could have several tiers that you progress through to gain campaign bonuses and abilities in battle. The area surrounding a herdstone should of course be immensely corrupted, and if you are playing as a different race, then coming anywhere near a herdstone should be a terrifying prospect, as you will be set upon by numerous herds. I've seen a lot of talk about herdstones in the community, and while I believe Creative Assembly will address the Beastmen at some point, I'm not sure how much work they'll focus on herdstones, unless the community continues to put their thoughts out there on the importance of this aspect of the Beastmen. Now, before we take a look at the individual lords, there's one final aspect of the Beastmen mentioned in the army book that I'd like to talk about. That is the concept of blood grounds. Now, I see these as being different from herdstones and having a much wider influence on the campaign. I'm thinking of a system where your blood grounds grow or shrink based on your level of influence or based on recent battle results. As your influence grows, your blood grounds increase in size and come to encompass regions controlled by other factions. And you could possibly even gain campaign effects like movement range, casualty replenishment and recruitment costs while inside the area of your blood grounds. Factions that fall within your area could then be affected negatively as you grow in strength, and it could act as a spark for war. It would be great to see what ideas we can think of as a community for Bloodgrounds, so please, comment below. So, onto the individual mechanics of each legendary lord. What do they have to offer? Well, unfortunately, nothing really. As far as I can see, there are no unique faction mechanics, which is a shame, but also understandable, as at the time, Creative Assembly was not adding such things to their releases. Now, we're spoiled with unique mechanics for each new legendary lord in the paid DLCs. Fortunately, the Warhammer community is full of very talented modders who have added incredible things to the game. So let's take a look at each of the lords and see if we can come up with some ideas based on their individual lore. So, what could we give Khazrak? From his lore it is mentioned that he has an uncanny ability to lead and temper the unruly spirit of the herd in battle. That sounds promising. Something to hang our ideas off. A battle ability that is triggered as more units lose morale or become enraged perhaps? Let me know your thoughts below. Our second brave individual is Malagor the Dark Omen, a brave shaman with incredible power that is known for enacting horrifying rituals at Hearthstones across the Warhammer world. Here I think we could have a campaign mechanic which interacts with our Hearthstone mechanic, buffing them in a manner only Malagor can. We could have several rituals that might be unlocked as Malagor progresses, or with favour earned. I really like the thought of mechanics that are related and intertwined with others, as it makes for a more interesting campaign, at least for me. Our last legendary lord that we currently have is Morgur the Shadowgrave. Undoubtedly the creepiest looking of our lineup, and definitely not Bachelor of the Year material. His lore mentioned that he changes the world constantly and randomly around him. Everything in his presence is twisted. How could we adapt this to a campaign mechanic? I'll leave that for you to decide. So, where do we go from here? Well, I'm going to crawl back into my cave and wait to see what incredible ideas and thoughts the community might have in regards to how to make the Beastmen more interesting, and what mechanics could we add to each individual lord to make their campaigns feel unique. I'll gather up the ideas and place them in a poll and attach them to next week's video, where we will take a look at what Bretonnians have to offer and what we could give them. Until then, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and if you have made it this far into the video, thank you so much for listening to my ramblings. Please subscribe and leave your thoughts below, and if you're on Twitter, you can follow me for the latest updates on my own mods. I look forward to seeing what ideas the community comes up with, and who knows, maybe we'll inspire some modders out there to create one or two of these things that we thought of.